project proposal is titled Sustainable Development Goal of Responsible Consumption and Production in Western Visayas. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development was launched at the United Nations Summit in New York on September 25 to 27, year 2015. It consists of 17 goals that are aimed to end poverty in all forms. The UN 2030 Agenda visualizes a world of universal respect for human rights and human dignity, the rule of law, justice, equality, and non-discrimination. It calls for a need for action to address growing poverty, empowerment women, and discuss a climate emergency. The 12th goal of agenda is all about responsible consumption and productions, and concern ensuring sustainable consumption and production patterns, which is a key to sustain the livelihood of current and future generations. The resources in our planet continue to plummet, but the human population consistently increases. If the global population by 2050 reaches 9.8 billion, it will require natural resources equivalent to 3 planets for humanity to sustain the current lifestyle. Why is there a need to change the way people consume? Over the past century, the economic and social progress was accompanied by environmental degradation. This may result exposing systems that human existence and future development depends at stake. Alteration and enhancement of resource efficiency, consideration of the economic activity life cycle, and active participation multilateral environmental agreement are necessary for a successful transition. Changing consumption habits and shifting energy supplies to more sustainable ones or one of the main changes that people must make to achieve reductions of consumption levels. Food waste is another sign of overconsumption. Despite the huge number of the global population suffering in starvation, an astounding amount of 931 million tons of food is wasted within a year. Discussion regarding food loss is urgent and requires dedicated policies informed by appropriate data, as well as investment in technologies, infrastructure, education, and monitoring. As of 2023, the UN are seeing promising changes in industries, including the trends towards sustainability reporting being on the rise, almost tripling the amount of published sustainability over just a few years, showcasing the increased level of commitment and awareness that sustainability should be at the core of business practices.
So here's our objectives. First is to reduce the environmental impact and the use of natural resources in the production and consumption of goods and services, such as by improving resource efficiency, recycling, and renewable energy sources. Next is to promote social and economic well-being, human rights, and decent work for all in the production and consumption of goods and services, such as by ensuring fair trade, ethical sourcing, and corporate social responsibility. Last is to increase the awareness and education of consumers and producers about the benefits and opportunities of sustainable consumption and production, such as by providing information, labels, and incentives to choose sustainable options. Next is our scope. The major aims to empower and engage the local communities in Western Visayas to adopt responsible consumption and production practices and behavior. In line with the Sustainable Development Goal 12, the project will use a community-based approach that involves the participation and collaboration of various stakeholders, such as consumers, producers, local government units, civil society organizations, and academic institutions. The project will conduct awareness raising campaigns, capacity building workshops, and demonstration projects to showcase and disseminate the benefits of the best practices of responsible consumption and production in the region.
For the methodology, we will be using waterfall methodology. It helps us to facilitate a smooth and efficient project execution by providing a clear set of tasks and responsibilities at each stage, thereby minimizing the confusion and conflict among the project team and stakeholders. This structured approach also enables better control and monitoring of the project, as each stage comes with the defined milestones and deliverables. The feature aids in tracking and measuring project progress and performance, ensuring effective reporting and communication of project results and impacts. First, requirements. Requirements refers to the needs of the communities. First, empower and engage the local communities in Western Visayas to adopt responsible consumption and production practices and behavior. Next, to enhance the productivity and profitability of the local farmers and producers through the adoption of organic and sustainable farming practices, such as crop rotation, intercropping, and natural pest control. To increase the share of renewable resources or energy resources in the total energy consumption of the region through the promotion and installation of solar, wind, hydro, and biomass energy systems. To raise the awareness and participation of local consumers and stakeholders on responsible consumption and production issues and solutions through the organization and facilitation of information, education, and communication campaigns such as forums, workshops, and exhibitions. Next is the design. This will be the main framework of the project, dissemination of information to communities, seminar for producers on on responsible production, meetings for renewable energy resources. For the implementation, initiate awareness campaigns, implement resource efficient practices, and establish sustainable production processes. Next, implementation of found alternatives, resources, and monitoring to enhance the skills and capabilities of the local communities in Western Visayas to implement and adopt responsible consumption and production practices and behavior, such as reducing waste, recycling, reusing, and composting, organic farming, energy efficiency, water conservation, etc. To establish and strengthen the network and partnerships of the various stakeholders in Western Visayas, such as consumers, producers, local government units, civil society organization, and academic institution to support and sustain the responsible consumption and production initiatives and activities in the region. Next is the verification or testing. First is evaluate the effectiveness of implemented initiatives against predefined criteria and goals, identify and address any issues or gaps in the execution of responsible consumption and production practices. Lastly, evaluation and activities status after implementation period. For the deployment and maintenance, roll out successful initiatives to the wider communities or targeted areas, ensure that awareness campaigns and sustainable practices become integrated into the daily lives of the community. Next, implement a robust monitoring system to track the ongoing impact of the project. Lastly, regularly assess the project's performance against predefined key performance indicators. Review of related literature and gap. Education and awareness play a pivotal role in promoting responsible consumption. Literature highlights the need for educational programs and awareness campaigns to foster a culture of sustainability. A possible gap in the existing literature on education and awareness for responsible consumption in the lack of empirical evidence of the effectiveness and impact of different educational programs and awareness campaigns. While the literature discusses the need and potential benefits of such interventions, there is a scarcity in studies that measure and evaluate the actual outcomes and impacts of these interventions on the behavior and attitude of the target audience. For example, Stahl-Kleeman and O'Riordan in 2019 state that there is a dearth of empirical research on the effectiveness of educational interventions in changing dietary habits and preferences. Similarly, Reich and collaborators in 2019 note that there is a still lack of systematic and comprehensive evaluation of the effects of education for sustainable consumption. For the timeline, so first we will assess each province. This assessment, we will conduct a comprehensive assessment of current production practices among local farmers and goods companies. Analyze the consumption and environmental status of each province, and this will be implemented in January 2024. For the dissemination of information and aids to communities, we will start this action on March 2024. We will distribute materials to local farmers and goods companies, fostering awareness and an understanding of responsible consumption and production. In March 2024, the same month, we will conduct a seminar for producers such as local farmers, goods companies, agriculture, and search for ways to adapt renewable energy resources. We will introduce effective practices and behaviors on producing sufficient goods while avoiding unnecessary waste or byproducts that may cause adverse effects to the environment. We will also cultivate partnerships with electric companies in discovering and utilizing renewable resources. On May 2024, we will implement all of the activities that we have planned, such as workshop implementing practices introduced to producers during the seminar, encouraging consumers to be responsible, and implementing the renewable resources integration. Until then, on May 2025, the next year, until then, from May 2025 until 2030, will be the evaluation and monitoring and maintenance period. We will assess the impact of implemented activities on resource efficiency, on resources, assess the impact of implemented activities on resources efficiency, environmental impact, and social well-being. We will gather the feedback from participants and stakeholders to measure the effectiveness of the initiative. Lastly, we will conduct yearly assessment and evaluation to monitor progress until goal is achieved.
So the following are the estimated budget for our project. This project covers Western Visayas, composed of 6 provinces and multiple cities. The first budget will be go in assessment. That will be total 1,200,000. That will be 200,000 per province. Next is the dissemination of information and aids to communities. The total of 3 millions, 500,000 per province. And next is the seminar and assessment for renewable energy use, total of 4,800,000. That will be 800,000 per province. Next is the implementation of activities, total of 5,400,000, 900,000 per province. And lastly, the evaluation, monitoring, and maintenance, that will be total 2,400,000. So it will be 400,000 per province. So estimated total budget would be 16,800,000.
Our expected result is, as a result of the project, the local communities in Western Visayas will have increased knowledge and awareness about the challenges and opportunities for responsible consumption and production in the region, and the global goal of ensuring sustainable consumption and production patterns. They will be able to access and use the information, education, and communication materials that provide relevant and reliable information and guidance on how to adopt responsible consumption and production practices and behavior. They will also be able to participate and interact in forums, seminars, workshops, and other events that provide opportunities for learning and sharing experiences and best practices with other stakeholders and experts. Next is as a result of the project, the local communities in Western Visayas will have enhanced skills and capabilities to implement and adopt responsible consumption and production practices and behaviors such as reducing waste, recycling, reusing, composting, organic farming, energy efficiency, water conservation, and etc. They will be able to access and use the training modules, manuals, and toolkits that provide practical and hands-on instructions and tips on how to apply responsible consumption and production techniques and methods. They will also be able to receive and provide technical assistance and monitoring and to create and manage learning platforms and communities of practice that support the sustained capacity building process and outcomes. As a result of the project, the local communities in Western Visayas will have demonstrated and disseminated the benefits and best practices of responsible consumption and production in the region through implementation of activities that showcase the innovative and green solutions and products that address the needs and preferences of the local consumers and producers. They will be able to access the innovative and green solutions and products such as biodegradable packaging, solar lamps, rainwater harvesting systems, and etc. that provide environmental, social, and economic benefits and value to the users and the communities. They will also be able to document and disseminate the project results and lessons learned and to influence and inspire other stakeholders and regions to adopt the replicate the responsible consumption and production initiatives and activities. And last, as a result of the project, we can attain the 12 Sustainable Development Goals, which is responsible consumption, production on or before 2030. That's all. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.